Hi guys, welcome back. This is Sunil Dhiman, and today we will discuss about Android Recyclerview using MVVM architecture. And today we will discuss about how we can use Retrofit for fetching the data from the internet, and we can use Recyclerview for displaying the data. And this is the simple. But before that, I would like to say you guys, if you are new to my channel, don't forget to subscribe my YouTube channel. If you want to learn about Android, Kotlin, Flutter, or Mern stack for web development, so don't forget to subscribe my YouTube channel. And this is the app which I made in the previous video, and this is just a simple app in which a list of users is being displayed there. So if you have not watched my previous video, then you can watch that video. I will put the description of link of the video in the description. You can watch that video, because this is the app which I have made in the previous video, and we will continue with that app. So let me run that app and you will see the output. So this is the app. So and now we are just displaying this list of users from our local view model. Just we have created a list and we have displayed that list, but now we will fetch this list from the server using Retrofit. So if you many of you don't know about Retrofit is a networking library which is used to, if you want to fetch data from the network, we can use Retrofit and library with the MVVM. But if you are not using MVVM, you can also use Volley, and other libraries are available, you can use those. But if you want to use MVVM architecture in the app, we will use Retrofit for that, because that is recommended by Google architecture. So let's first of all, we will add some dependencies in the Gradle, because if we want to sorry, if we want to use Retrofit or something from networking, then we will have to use coroutines as well. Here we will have to use library for coroutines and Retrofit, and with Retrofit we also need converter factory that you will not understand by this time, but you will understand about that later in the coming videos. By tutorial I will cover those topics. First of all, I will, in this video I will tell you just about basics of those libraries or those concepts. So first of all, let's add the Retrofit. Just search on the Google Retrofit latest version GitHub, and you will find the latest version there. Just use this and is implementation there. Implementation and Retrofit, and along with Retrofit we also need converter factories. I would just give you an overview of that thing, why that is needed. Retrofit, you can see here, these are some custom converters. These are converters. So for converting we use JSON, Jackson, Moshi. Many libraries are available, but why these libraries are used? Basically, Retrofit is the class through which your API interfaces are turned into callable objects. By default, Retrofit will give you send defaults for your platform, but it allows for customization. So converter, why do we need converters? Because by default Retrofit only serialize and deserialize HTTP bodies into, okay, HTTP is response body type, and it can only accept response body type for @body. But if we want to support other types like some custom classes and some other types, so for those purposes we need these converter factories. So here we will use Moshi. So this is Moshi. So let's add Moshi as well. Let's do one thing here. Moshi latest version. So here you will find its latest version and we will import that. Actually it's mentioned here is 1.2.0. so we can also have another way of adding the libraries. I will show you guys that. Just go to project structure. If you don't know about latest version, or if you don't finding any information about latest version, then you can do is just select dependencies tab here and then add library dependency. So first of all, make sure that this is setting for the app, because we want to use that module in the app library dependency. And what we will do is we just know about package of Moshi from here, this, then and paste here and search. It will find the latest version of that library for us, and here it comes. This is the, and we can select as how we want to implement that, implementation or test implementation, debug. All the options are available here. So we will add that library. We can see it's been added here. So this is the latest version. Basically this is related to the retrofit, what is the version of retrofit, and same version comes with converter factories. And now we also need one more thing here, but before that let's first of all add some more libraries. We need Kotlin coroutines for fetching the data from the network. Basically Kotlin coroutines are used to if we want to, let's say if we are fetching data from the network, then we want to do that thing on the background thread. We don't want to do that thing on the UI thread, because that will block the UI. So for that we use coroutines in Kotlin. I will cover a separate tutorial on Kotlin coroutines. For as of now you can just learn about that Kotlin coroutines is used for networking purposes. If you want to move data in the background, if you want to implement something in the background thread, then we can use coroutines there in the Kotlin coroutines implementation. Just search this thing and you will find its latest version there, how we can add it in the code. And here is the library. So this is here, and now retrofit. And now here along with Moshi we also need this is the converter. We also need Moshi library and Moshi codegen. Basically Moshi codegen is, what it does is, it is used for generating. Let's first of all, I will search that thing here and then you will better understand that. What Moshi do is, Moshi is used for, as I have told you, for using exporting custom types in the retrofit. For that we can use Moshi. And for by default Moshi uses reflection, and reflection is used at runtime for generating adapters for the classes, because by the adapters only retrofit and Moshi knows about which kind of data retrofit is going to serialize and deserialize. But if we want to fast that thing, so we can use Moshi codegen for that do these things at compile time. It does not use reflection process, so it is very fast. It makes serialization and deserialization fast. Moshi codegen. This is codegen, and this is the latest. Actually this is the Moshi version of the Moshi, and below this is the version of Moshi codegen. This is the Moshi codegen. This is basically, you can say, annotation processor. This is an annotation processor. I will tell you about annotation. What are annotations? We basically, whatever we use at the rate, and if we want to use, let's say here we will not get any annotation, but there are some things here like this override. This is an annotation. Like this we use at the rate and some word, so that is called annotation. For those things we use processing those annotations for serialization purposes. We can use CodeGen, and it makes serialization and deserialization fast. So for this KAPT, as this is annotation processor, so we need to add this plugin as well. Just remember this thing, without this it will not work. And now I think we are done with most of the libraries. Retrofit, Moshi converter, Kotlin, Moshi, CodeGen, and this is coroutines. So let's move on to the project. And now let's first of all I will tell you how we can use retrofit. For that we will need to create an interface. Basically you can see that thing here. This is the interface. Here you can define methods with @get, @post. So those there are many kinds of methods for posting and getting or operating the data on the server. So you will learn about these things later whenever I will cover retrofit in depth. For as of now I will just cover basic point how we can use retrofit for getting some data from the internet. So first of all let's create an interface here. Just create Kotlin class, interface, select interface. Oops, actually I wanted to give it a name but it slips from my hand. Users service, no, not user service, actually just give it a name of API service and refactor it API service. So and here you can see we can use annotations. It's not showing. Let's first of all add some function. You can see that thing here very well in the declaration. This @get and this is the type and this is in the Java, but we will do that thing in the Kotlin. So in Kotlin let's say we have function get users. This is @get annotation for that, and here we will do is basically this is first of all we will need to have some API for fetching the data. This is the API which we will use for fetching data from the internet. This is at my testing, this is for my testing projects. So this is the response of that users. It will fetch the users from the database. ID, email, first name, mobile, profile picture, status, all these parameters will be in the user data. So for that we will use, this will be the our base URL. So and for as of now just put that thing here. We will move that thing later. And after that name of the API is get users .php. Basically we will move this part in the base URL because we don't want to repeat this thing in every API. So we move this part in the base. That will be common. We will make that part as the base URL of the retrofit. So this is the API service, and here we will use call with some type first. But first of all let's add that data. We will create a model here, Kotlin data class. This is the plugin. Basically you can use this plugin here, Kotlin data class file from JSON. I will show you that plugin here. You can go to settings, then you can go to plugins. This is the installed plugin and this is the name of the plugin. You can see JSON to Kotlin class. It helps us to make Kotlin classes, data classes from JSON response of the APIs or any kind of JSON data. So this is the response of the API, this is JSON data. Let's copy that and we will create that model, or it will create all the models from that response, JSON response, and give it some name, get the users response. This is the name of the class. Now it will create, actually it have given the model name as user X. Okay, don't worry, we will replace that thing later. And you can see this JSON class, this will make this as JSON class, generated after is equal to. This will be processed by Kotlin Moshi code gen. For that purpose this annotation processor is used. And now what we will do is, this has parse our response, message, JSON type, string type, variable, response, string type, and there is a list of users X. This user X is the item user. It has created a separate model for that. So users is the list of users. So now this is created, and now we will create one, let's say, API client for initializing all the things like HTTP client for retrofit. Basically we will use HTTP client here, we will not custom HTTP client here. I will tell you about later. Well, first of all, let's create a HTTP client by Lazy. If I hope all of you know about Lazy, what Lazy does. You can go to my previous tutorials if you want to learn how this Lazy works. And what is this Lazy? I have explained that thing in the previous videos. Basically it makes this variable to be get initialized only when it will be used first time. So it only initializes that variable when it will be used first time. So what we will do here is HTTP client dot new builder dot build. Basically we are just using this. If I am showing you this because if we want to sometimes add some interceptors there in the retrofit, for that purpose we need this HTTP client. If we want to, let's say we are getting the request and we want to modify request, if we are posting the data and we want to add some headers, authentication headers, then we can use interceptors for that, and we can use interceptor function for that. Add interceptor here, you can use interceptors like this. So I will cover those things later whenever we will learn about more in more depth about retrofit. So this is HTTP client. This is used for basically fetching the data. And now retrofit, let's create instance of retrofit again by Lazy. It will be initialized only whenever it will be needed. Retrofit dot builder dot first of all let's set client, HTTP client. Even before that let's set base URL. This is the base URL what I was talking about, this one. Let's move on this part there. This is the basic URL, and let's add converter factory as well, as I mentioned you, that is Moshi converter factory dot create. And I think it's done. Let's build that. Now we will create instance of this API service by Lazy. How we create that thing is retrofit dot create method is used. Dot retrofit, actually we need instance and create, and now here we will use service class which we have created, and .java class.java. If you want to access class file, then we can use this way in the Kotlin, what we were accessing previously in the Java, like this, that thing, and in Kotlin we access that thing by this way. So this is about API client, and what we will do is we will make this as an object type. Object is basically similar to static or singleton as in Java, because we want to use these variables directly without creating objects. So this is like static and singleton things in the Kotlin. This is alternative for static classes, and it also creates only singleton instance. So now this part is done, and now let's move on to our users view model. So first of all, let's create a repository as well, because in the MVVM, we create repository view model. So all these things are part of MVVM. If you want to learn about MVVM, I will put the description of my previous video in the link of the video in the description. So let's create another class, that is users repository, and what we will do here is we will create instance of API service by lazy, because we will initialize that only whenever that is needed. And now create fun get users type. Basically we will return a list of users. You can change this, rename, refactor this thing, and delete this previous user model. You can do that on your own. So, and now what we will do is here we will, with context is used basically to move this execution part from UI thread to background thread. But we want to move it to the background thread. This will, for as of now, you can just understand that this part will move the inside code inside this part will be executed on the background thread, IO thread, because we are going to return some response there. So let response, add some response there. API service dot get users, and now response. Basically if we are using return there, then it will pick up the last line of code in the block, that will be return response dot, if not I have not called execute here. Basically yes, this will be call type. This will return call, that the call is the, basically you can see this thing. I will just come to that point in a minute. So what we will need is type of list of user X. Let's I will show you about that thing. Basically you can see this is an HTTP request and response pair. This is the main thing that gets executed. That executes our request. So this will return this type, and now we will move back to that part and we will use execute. Basically there are two types here, enqueue and execute. In the enqueue we can pass callback here, and this is asynchronous, and execute is basically synchronous. For now we will use synchronous. I will cover enqueue in the later video whenever we will understand retrofit in depth, so we will cover that thing there. So now response is the response type of the response. Basically the response is the format in which we get the response from any API from the network. Now we will pick body. This is the where data is resides in the response is inside body, and now we will pick is users there dot bodies list of users. Okay, basically we have done something wrong because we are fetching the response in this type, so we will use this thing in the call. Here call is inside this, we only pass the response of the API. So response of API is this model type, so we will use that thing. And now body dot, we will fetch users here. Now it's asking for nullable part. Basically it's asking for type mismatch because this is not nullable, but this can be nullable. But what we will do here is we can use this operator here, and in case if it is null, we can pass list of just empty list of. Now as you know, this is showing, this is very important part. Suspend function with context should be called only from a coroutine or another suspend function. Basically this is a suspend function, and we can use this from another suspend function only. And what is suspend function? Suspend function is any function which can be stopped and then later we can resume, which can be paused execution, whole execution we can pause and later we can resume that execution of the function. That is suspend function. So this is the backbone of the coroutines. I will explain this in coming videos whenever we will cover coroutines. So this is the, now this method is done, and now we will come to user view model, and here we were fetching this list. Now what we will do is we will just comment this thing, and we will use Viewmodelscope here. Oops, Viewmodelscope is not available. For that we need to add some library. What is Viewmodelscope is? Basically Viewmodelscope is, you can use this library KTX. These are KTX extensions of Kotlin extensions. KTX is for Kotlin extensions. So this is for Viewmodel KTX. Let's add that thing here. Implementation. And sync now. Then we will come back to this part. And now we will use Viewmodelscope dot launch. Basically this is a coroutine, you can think of it as a coroutine, and which is used for running coroutines in the view model. So Viewmodelscope is used for that. Now we will do is, and first of all let's refactor this thing. We will need a type of data as of user X. So let's refactor this thing. Replace this thing with user X. Just use this thing there. It will be easy to replace. and let's get repository here by lazy. Now we will use that repository. Users can name it as users repository dot get users. This is response, and we can set underscore users dot post value, because post value is used here because we are doing this in the coroutine. You can use here post value, but you can also use value here because we are just doing this on the main thread. We are not doing that on the background thread, so you can use any of these. So this will post this value. Let's remove this thing, and now final changes will be in the adapter. Here again we will need to replace this thing with user X. Just do this with precaution. And I think it's done. Now here, first of all, just comment this out and pick the first name plus space, just concatenate first name and last name here. If you don't know about what is this list adapter, you can view my previous video. As I have told you, this is the project which I have created in my previous video, so you can go to that video and watch that video. That is what is RecyclerView with MVVM in Android, so you can watch that video. Let's run our app and see what is happening there. Is it fetching the data from the internet or not? Let's see that thing. We can close this. Basically we forgot one thing. We use permission here from internet. Use permission. This permission is needed here. Okay, don't worry, we will rerun after that. And it has fetched data from the internet. This is the response from the API. The response of API. Previously, you know, these were not in the list. So this is the list which is being fetched from API. And now we want to display image. For image, we can use Coil library. That is very good library with Kotlin. it works very well with Kotlin. So we can use the core library for that. Just copy this implementation and add this thing here and sync now, and it is very easy to use. I will show you guys. It has many advantages over other libraries. It is very fast, mainly if you are working in Kotlin. I will show you how we can set folder dot binding dot image view. This is just simple function you can use very easily. You can just use load and pass the URL here, and this is the URL before for the path of the image, because in the response we are just fetching the name of the image, so we will concatenate the URL of the image with that. So dot, yes, here it comes, you can easily see that. And now we will concatenate item dot profile picture. Let's see if it loads or not. Let's also change name of the app. This is the RecyclerView with MVVM Retrofit. As of now, let's close this as well, so that our PC will become fast, because you know Android Studio is very heavy software. It makes our system junky, you can say. It starts lagging due to Android Studio, and now I think it's built now, it's running, and yes, it has loaded the images. That's cool. Now you can adjust the layouts according to your choice. You can also show mobile number here, and let's add mobile number as well there. So this is about the retrofit, basically how we can use retrofit there. We have learned about that thing. So let's add an text view here, and we will show mobile number as well there below this text view. Let's add another text view. Let's say text view, width would be wrap content, height again wrap content. Let's give it an ID. ID will be user. Let's change this mobile text view. So this will be the ID, and where we want to use this, let's also give it text appearance of large text. We want it to right of this, and to bottom of username text view. Basically there is plus sign here, so if you want to add some new ID there, also add margin left there, and bottom. Actually here we will use top to bottom because we want it inside below that text view. If we want to test that view, we can just set its text and test that thing. Actually it's showing very below that because this is being aligned in the center. So as of now we will align that on the top. Now it will show up. Just give it some margin from top. 8 dp is good. Just reduce, make it small so that you will become good. Yes, or you can also set it to medium. And now we will set mobile number to that. Dot binding dot mobile text dot text item dot mobile. So that is it. Let's try it how it looks. Let's reduce some size of this as well. Let's set it to medium. Then how it will look. Or let's set it to body too, basically to look better. Style body 1. So these are different text appearances. You can use any of them. Let's come back to title. Let's try title because some appearances also makes the color dull, you can see. Let's try this. Let's increase the size of image. I think we can try out that later. And it looks cool. You can see that. We can just increase some height and width of this part. And this part as well. Yes, now it will look good. There is one more thing you can do. We can take both of these views inside one layout and then put that layout in the center vertically. Then it will look good. But as of now we can adjust only margin top of that. We can give it 16 dp as well if it looks good. Yes, it will almost appear in the center. Let's give it 14 dp. Let's run our app. And it looks good now, you can see. So this is about the RecyclerView with MVVM architecture and retrofit. We learned how we can use retrofit. We also learned a little bit about coroutines as well. So I will cover both of these things in the coming videos in very depth. So for that, if you want to learn about that in the depth, so stay tuned to my YouTube channel. So this is about all for today. If you want to learn more stuff like this, so don't forget to subscribe my YouTube channel. If you like the video, you can share, and you can also leave your comments for the topics on which you want the tutorials. So this is all about us for today, and I will see you in the next video. Till then, bye bye, take care, have a great time, keep coding.